Crescent Centre Cinemagic has held an event which is a showcase presented by BBC, the editor Mark Davenport. I managed to go up and attend the event, and I managed to also get an interview with Mark Davenport.
Probably back in the sort of 1970s and 1980s, I was leaving school just at the end of the 1970s, and I thought at that time I wanted nothing more than to be a reporter on my local newspaper. But then I did study history at college and got into quite a lot of international political history, and I got my first break at the BBC World Service in the early 80s. So I was always interested in the cinema, interested in football. I'm a Liverpool supporter, and interested in other things like, I suppose, the movies, which I've been talking about here today at Cinemagic. So yeah, lots of other things, but I think we were always quite a political household with a small p. I got rejected from quite a few places. My local newspaper that I hoped to work at didn't even have the time to actually offer me a kind of a walk around their newsroom, and I did apply for a couple of courses. Like there was one which the Cardiff University did, and I didn't get on that because there was a lot of competition even back in those days. In the end, I actually got a job offer from the Hitching Gazette, which was a local paper, not where I lived, but they were looking to take on a cub reporter, and I was just about to do that when I also got a job offer from the BBC World Service. I suppose you always enjoy doing big stories, and so I can remember being, particularly, I suppose, involved in the job. I've always been involved in the job, but particularly back in, say, the mid-1990s, when we started seeing the situation in Northern Ireland change in ways that we could hardly imagine, with first the paramilitary ceasefires and then the Good Friday Agreement. It's obviously very hard covering any kind of story which involves human loss, and sadly I've done quite a few of those down through the years in terms of violence, bombings, killings and so on, and I particularly found it difficult to cover the Omagh bomb because not only was there a large number of people who lost their lives there, it also happened at a time when we all assumed things were just about to get better. In terms of what you say about the BBC's impartiality, sometimes that's stretched and you get criticised from one side or from the other. I suppose I'd take the famous saying of Robert Bruce when he saw the spider trying to complete its web and failing, but trying and trying again. That's what you've got to be. You've got to be persistent. It's always been the case that there have been fewer journalistic jobs than the supply of people who actually want to get into that profession. Things have become quite difficult in this new era of social media because that's undercut some of the funding for traditional media, and so that I think creates challenges, but it also creates opportunities, because if you don't get a break from the mainstream media first of all, then you can do the kind of thing that you're doing, Phoebe, create your own blog, create your own voice out there so that people can see what you're doing.
So as you can tell from that interview, Mark was able to give us quite a few interesting tips and advice. I really enjoyed the showcase, and this is Phoebs out, Belfast Met, logging off.